Some new neighbors move into a neighborhood. They are originally from Eastern Europe, where black collect blood and are only active at night.
This is Ryan.
And this is Ashley.
And this is
Ruining
Ruining
Our
Our
Childhood.
Childhood presents Are We Still Afraid of the Dark?
Are we?
I don't know.
Hi, guys. I was trying to I wanted to sound dark. Because sometimes when we start the episodes, we have our spooky, Are You Afraid of the Dark type music. And then I'm like, and we're back, like with all this energy.
It's like, hey guys.
Yeah. So, hey guys, it's Ashley.
It's Ryan.
And this is Are We Still Afraid of the Dark?
A weekly podcast where we rewatch and discuss the 90s childhood classic. Are you afraid of the dark?
And it's another episode. This week we are rewatching and discussing the episode The Tale of the Nightly Neighbors, episode 8 of the first season.
And we both, when the episode started, were like, this is one we remember.
Yeah. I don't think I've remembered any of them. This one for sure I remember.
Yeah.
The creepy neighbors that wear all black. We'll discuss it. But first, did you guys listen to our new TV bonus-ode? I'm waiting for you to answer. Like Dora the Explorer.
You're blinking?
I'm just blinking.
Go
I
ahead.
hope you guys did. I know some of you guys did and left comments and said it was hilarious. I don't know if they said that, but you know, I like to pretend that they are somewhere on our social media discussing us.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to head over to ruiningourchildhood.com and join our fan club, the Ruiners Club.
Yes.
Get
Or
over
I'll
there.
force you to wink, wink at a specific person who I signed them up. And the best part is we actually have quite a few people that have signed up. But I just figured somebody close to us who have not signed up that should be supporting us.
Yes.
I force them to sign up.
And he's a person who's given us, he always gives us suggestions about our podcast. But then he doesn't want to be part of the Ruiners Club?
Rude.
Come on, bro.
Rude.
Literally, bro.
Anyway, guys, The Tale of the Nightly Neighbors, go ahead and hit us with the first category.
Our first category is called Well, Hello There,
Well, hello there.
where we talk about any famous or recognizable actors that we did not know were in the episode. And I don't know that any of them really jumped out at me, but there was a larger cast than the last episode.
Yeah, I only wrote down a couple of them because there's a couple of characters that are only in like one scene, but my first one was Susanna Shebib, who plays Emma. Basically, it's about two kids, Emma and her brother. She is the main character, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, her and her brother. And she was in not a lot of stuff, but she was in Billy Madison. And I want to kind of look, but it said high school girl. So I wonder if she was the girl that when he was in the high school class, in the science class, and he's like, no, I will not make out with you. I wonder if that's her.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Because if you don't know, Ruining Our Childhood, our movie podcast, we did do Billy Madison not that long ago.
Yeah.
And we just discussed that scene.
Yes.
So I do want to look it up. I'm sure there's a clip of it on YouTube or something.
And her face definitely looked familiar to
Right?
me. So when I looked her up and I was like, the only thing that you could have been in was Billy Madison.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if that's her.
She was in another show. I want to say another actor or actress from one of these episodes was in it called Ready or Not. I'm guessing it was a Canadian show. And then she was in something else, but yeah, not very long IMDb.
No, definitely not.
Who was your first one?
My first one was the person that played her brother, Day Day. His name is Noah Gottfried. And he was in Kung Fu, The Legend Continues, I think is what it was. The one with David Carradine.
Oh, okay.
And he was on Tales of the Crypt, and he did a voice on Babar.
Babar.
I just remember Babar always being the kids' meal toy at Arby's when I was a kid.
I totally watched that.
I watched it a little bit, but I know it more from the Arby's kids' meal.
Can we talk about the fact that this kid's name is Day Day? Mm-hmm. And they never fully explain if it's a nickname. And I did make a joke.
Yes.
When we started it, because it's Kiki's story. Not Kiki's story, it's Betty Ann's story. Sorry, I was thinking of Kiki sneaking up on the one kid.
Yeah.
Because she was saying, like, everything's scarier at night, and they were having this discussion, so I was like, this kid's named Day Day. Is it because he's afraid of the night? The stupidest joke, but it
got
made
me.
Yeah.
It got me.
It did make you laugh.
And I agree with Betty Ann. I don't know why, but everything is scarier at night.
It is, especially when you're a kid.
Yeah. I think it's, what's the guy with the glasses name? On the Midnight Society?
Gary.
But Gary says he's like, it should be equally scary during the daytime, in theory.
I think there's things that are scarier during the daytime, or, you know, in like a horror movie, if somebody does not care and they're chasing you during the day, or to me, like, say Michael Myers is scary because he never chases you, he walks.
Yes.
So that's scary to me because he knows he's going to come to you eventually. He has patience and confidence.
Yes.
That he knows he's going to get you. He doesn't need to run after you. He's just going to walk.
Slowly walk after you.
Yeah.
And you're sprinting and he always catches up to you.
He always catches up to you. But if you saw Michael Myers during the day, it would still be scary.
I agree.
Because people in masks are scary too.
Yeah.
Not the masks that we have to wear currently, but
here's my thing.
Full-blown masks.
If you go around the corner and it's nighttime and someone startles you, you're going to jump and freak out. And
that's true.
But if it's daytime and they startle you, you're probably not going to freak out as much. But I agree with you, someone like Michael Myers or Jason, scary as hell. Night or day.
No matter what. Yeah,
no matter.
And so it depends on the situation.
Yes.
But they do set it up for this story because of the plot having to do with like nighttime and whatever.
Your neighbors are nocturnal.
Yes. Or nightly neighbors is what the title's called, obviously. My second person was Carl Elachi as Mr. Braun, who is one of the neighbors.
Yes.
The dad of the family. And he's been in quite a few things. Day After Tomorrow, The Terminal, and Taken. But he has a pretty long IMDb.
Oh, okay.
He's working. That's all that matters.
And he's working in legit things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is your next one?
My next one was Francois Robertson.
Yes.
She played Mrs. Braun, so the wife of Carl. And she looked like she was a reoccurring character on Supergirl. She played Sarah Walker on Supergirl. And she's also been on iZombie, and she was on Riverdale. She's another one. Been in a bunch of things.
Just hanging out with the CW network.
Hang out on the C-dubs.
I guess the only other one that kind of has more than a couple lines, there's two others, I guess, is Johnny Marino, and he plays, or Marina, and he plays Lex Braun, and I didn't really see, he doesn't really act.
No. He looked familiar, and then when I looked at his IMDb, I went, okay.
Like,
I thought maybe he was in another episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But
I thought the same thing about Day Day, actually.
Oh. My last one, he just is the delivery man who's delivering a freezer to the Brauns.
Or two of them.
Two of them, yeah. His name is Mark Camacho. And he looked like more of just a bit actor, but he actually plays President Nixon in X-Men Days of Future Past.
Really?
Yeah, so a little bit bigger of a role.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I know Nixon isn't in that movie for very long, but that's a pretty big deal.
I believe if you're looking at your credits, it does go Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and then Mark Camacho as President Nixon. He's second.
He got billing over... James McAvoy,
Halle Berry, James Marsden, all those people. Why can't
I think of who played Magneto, but the younger version?
Oh, Fassbender.
Fassbender?
Jennifer Lawrence? No. Jackman.
Nicholas Hoult.
Camacho. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
he played
crazy
an
talk.
integral part of that movie.
He didn't.
No,
Ryan
he did
is
not.
lying.
No.
You should know by now, guys. Ryan's a liar.
He's full of shit.
And the only other person, I guess, there's the postman, but I didn't write him down. And then the mom, Mrs. Toll, Emma and Day Day's mom, Harriet Dove.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really look up her stuff. Like in most of these episodes, a very concentrated cast makes the Well Hello There a lot quicker than when we do it for our movie podcast.
Specifically a comedy on the movie podcast.
40-Year-Old Virgin
Yeah.
was like 40 minutes of talking about actors. So should we move on?
Yes, we shall.
The next category is called Let's Get Digging, and it's all about the plot and plot holes, and we discuss our favorite / funniest and most cringiest parts of the movie. What did you think about the plot?
I think it's kind of a thing that people could do is sit, like you have a window in our office that it looks out onto the street and you can see your neighbors and you see people pass by. And I feel like it's very easy to kind of create your own stories for them.
Yeah.
So when Emma and Day Day see these people moving in, Emma right away goes to their these people are vampires. They're wearing
pale,
all black.
yeah.
They're pale. They only come out at night. And I felt like that's kind of a believable thing is you could create this narrative in your head about people without even knowing them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I do that all the time when I people watch.
That was
Yeah.
my point, yeah.
Especially if you're a kid, too, is that you have an active imagination. And I think, too, if anything's off or weird, which it could be weird to you because you don't know about this person or what they're into, but like people tend to go to the extreme, like, oh, that's weird, or like, they make assumptions about people, and that's basically what the story is she's making assumptions about these new neighbors. I mean, there are obvious red flags, but for all we know, she's just really a suspicious kid.
And I would totally be Emma growing up, because I watch stuff like this.
Yeah.
So I would right away, like,
Be paranoid. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Same.
Yeah.
So this was a Betty Ann story.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that in the beginning, Eric rolls his eyes. Betty Ann and Eric hate each other, which is great because we...
there are thumbs up at the end, whether or not
thumbs
it's a good
up,
one
thumbs
or down.
down.
Yeah.
It is a reluctant thumbs up. Sorry. Yeah. It's not a thumbs down. But he gets mad because apparently all her stories have happy endings. But spoiler alert, this one does not.
No, and I did like when she started the story and she was like,
Submitted
for approval of the Midnight Society, and she goes, with the exception of Eric.
Yeah.
I was like, well done.
Eric's just, I wonder what's going on in his home life. He's just so hates life.
If you think about it, Eric lives in Letterkenny, and he's probably getting picked on by Wayne and Squirrely Dan and Derry.
That's true.
He gets picked on a little bit. He's got a rough life.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, the actor that plays Eric is also on Letterkenny, and
Jacob
he also
Tierney.
created it.
Yes.
And we tend to reference it a lot because it did surprise us when we watched the first episode, and we were really excited about it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with the plot. What about some plot holes?
I thought it was interesting that Emma right away, she wants to get over there and investigate the neighbor's house, and she gets in there, and she knows how to pick locks. Not even pick them, but she knows how to break a lock. And I'm going, she said, I do this at school, I can do it here.
Yes.
Which made me go, is she a really shitty person at school? Is that what she does? She breaks into lockers?
I have some theories about Emma. I compiled a list.
Oh, please hit me with it.
So we have a category, which we would usually do next, called Red Flag Alert. Mm-hmm. And I actually put a side category for Red Flag Alert for the fact that Emma might be a little psycho and a little criminal. Because she just has wooden stakes ready to go.
Yes.
When she decides that her neighbors are vampires with little to no evidence. She's a little obsessive with watching her new neighbors.
Yes.
She makes her brother feel like shit because he just wants to watch TV like a normal child in the 90s.
Preach.
And she knows how to pick a lock very well. Mm-hmm. She has vast knowledge of Eastern European countries, which I don't know how that makes her a criminal, but it just is interesting.
Very interesting.
for a child her age. And then she wants to avoid telling their parents and instead enlists her little brother to commit various crimes against their neighbor.
Exactly.
Like breaking in.
Breaking and entering.
Yeah.
And
almost murder. She's looking for any reason to murder these people.
She went over there with stakes to kill them.
Yes.
If I look outside and I go, hey, my neighbor's wearing all black, guess what? That doesn't give me a right to break into his house.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm like, this could be the start of like a really interesting like forensic files or unsolved mystery. Well, I guess it wouldn't be unsolved mysteries because we know who did it, but it would be like these kids thought they were killing vampires when it was really they were killing these innocent people.
These people that just happened to work at a hospital. And you went over there and drove stakes through their hearts.
Yeah. My first plot hole is, do you really think that hospitals just let their employees take extra blood home? That's not how those work, children. And if you know where Ukraine is, you should know that hospitals don't let their employees take home extra blood.
You don't store extra blood in the freezer in your basement that has a lock on it.
Yes. That's a little weird.
Very weird.
Did you have any other plot holes?
No, that was the big one that I had. But I like the way you broke down Emma systematically and everything that is wrong with this girl.
I felt like she was like, she's waiting for something to happen in her neighborhood. She keeps talking about how it's boring. And it just sounds like she's a bored kid who's like, I could be up for murdering my neighbors. Justifiably because they're vampires.
Yeah. They moved in at night. How dare they?
The other part that I wanted to discuss, because I felt like it was a little bit of a plot hole, but not really because, you know, the dad, Mr. Braun, probably saw them. Mm-hmm. But then later he says they were in here, weren't they? Like he asked his wife if they were in the basement. They both break into the basement to investigate the cooler that was locked. And they hear somebody coming downstairs. They hide under this very, very small table. Half of Emma's body is sticking out.
Yes.
It's a very well-lit basement, and you just see the person walk down, and you presume it's Mr. Braun. And he walks around, doesn't see anybody, and walks upstairs. And I'm like, you can clearly see them. They're not good at hiding.
Emma actually has one of my favorite lines at that moment when we assume it's Mr. Braun goes back upstairs.
Yeah.
Day-Day's like, who is that? She's like, I don't know. We should get the heck out of here. I'm like, maybe. It's the person's house that you have broken into.
Yes.
Just a possibility.
Just maybe, yeah. And just it's a pretty high table, and I felt like you could probably see who it is, too.
Yeah.
Like from their sightline, you know?
The whole scene was a little far-fetched.
Yeah. And the only other plot hole that I'll talk about is, so at the end of the episode, there's a little bit of a twist. Because you kind of assume that these guys are vampires. But then Mr. and Mr. Braun are hanging out outside during the day.
Yes.
So then the kids are like, you know, Day-Day gives his sister shit for being wrong. And they go home. And then the parents go downstairs. And spoiler alert, Lex is a vampire, the child.
Yeah.
And the only thing I have to say about that plot hole is that they're stockpiling blood in a cooler, but they're talking about how they have fresh victims to go to tonight, which are Emma and Day-Day's house. Mm-hmm. I'm like, if you have all this blood, why do you need like fresh victims other than obviously vampire folklore? It's better fresh. I'm like, you could just drink some of that blood.
Because there's a couple scenes where, like, we talked about the mailman. He has a bandage on his neck, and he's talking about his lack of energy. And they showed like a park where a lot of people were on benches like falling asleep because they have no energy and they have these bandages on their neck, which would make you think this little kid's just going around at night feeding on people.
Yeah.
But they have, like you said, an amazing stockpile of blood.
Maybe that's just an emergency, I guess. I don't know. But it doesn't make sense.
No, it does not.
I feel like they're not very good vampires. And I guess the little kid is the vampire and the other two are his, like, servants.
Yeah.
They keep him, you know, alive and stuff. But it doesn't make sense to me.
No.
That they would go around, especially in the neighborhood, attacking people. And I would think people were going to put it together more than just Emma, that every time they go to visit somebody gets sick. Right. Emma's the only one that figures that out.
But we also concluded Emma's a shithead, so...
She's literally looking for any reason to drive a stake through somebody's heart.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
She might be serving time right now for murder.
I agree.
Yeah.
What was your funniest part?
We've talked about Emma and her paranoia with the neighbors, but I loved when she goes to wake up Day in the morning because he's kind of overslept, and she's like, I figured out what's wrong with the Bronze. And Day's response was, I did too. Their neighbor is crazy. So,
That was pretty funny.
yeah, I like that one. What about you?
It was just a line that Mrs. Braun said when they came to visit the Holes house. Is that their last name?
Yes.
Obviously, they're from Ukraine, so they have an Eastern European accent. And she goes, Mutt, we come in. Mutt, we come in, instead of might. And it just, I don't know, it made me chuckle because I'm like, is that how Eastern Europeans say might?
Yeah. Mutt, we come in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your cringiest part?
It was just a scene where Emma and Day's mom is running late. So she's running out the door and they're trying to talk to her, but she just keeps running. And you can see the mailman coming up the driveway, but she still turns and like runs into the mailman.
Yeah.
It's like Benny Hill quality acting by her. I was not a fan of that. You saw him.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And then she knocks him over.
Yeah.
It spills a bunch of letters, and then she's like, I'm just too busy.
I gotta keep going.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
You're
great
a terrible
person. Yeah. And this man looks sickly because he's like the first victim of the vampires. Or I guess there's only one vampire.
First victim of Lex.
Yeah. But I thought that part was pretty funny. Mine was just when Emma was having a dream and the window opens and there's a bunch of fog. Like they were really using that fog machine.
Oh, yeah, they were.
And the Mr. Braun is floating to her. So it's just like a typical vampire. And I guess it's what kids would envision a vampire would do. But it was just pretty cheesy.
Yeah, that fog machine was on high.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fog.
Tons. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I did not. Are you ready to move on to our next category?
Yes.
Woo, woo. Red flag alert. What were the signs that these kids are just about to become statistics in a ghost story? What did you have?
I feel like we discussed a couple of them, but for sure the fact that the postman has a bandage on his neck and he mentions that the new neighbors visited him and then he's been sick ever since. But nobody ever, I guess it's a plot hole too, but nobody ever says like, I have these 2 puncture wounds on my neck.
Touché.
You know?
Yeah. For me, the fact that Day, they kind of run into the Brauns outside of the Brauns house.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Braun said, Lex doesn't feel very well. Can he come over and play? And he agrees to this.
Yeah.
You know he's quote unquote sick. And also, you suspect that they are vampires and you're inviting them into your home.
That's true.
Mom already kind of invited them in, but I don't think they didn't have Lex with them.
I thought they did. They
did. I take that back because he asked, Lex, I think, asked Day about playing.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's late.
Just obviously, if you find a locked refrigerator in a basement,
yes,
that's generally a red flag of some sort. I mean, usually I would think there'd be a dead body in there, but, there's just like 30 vials of blood.
Yeah.
Which is also a red flag to get the fuck out of there.
Does the refrigerator or freezer come with the lock already installed?
Like the ones that they have?
Yeah.
That you see in movies where people store dead bodies?
Exactly.
I don't think so. I think that's something
That's got to be a good red flag for any investigator going, why do you have a lock on that?
Yeah.
Where if you don't have a lock, they're probably just going to be like, that's a freezer.
There's probably like 10 gallons of ice cream in there. Not a dead body.
That person just likes some scheme.
Yeah. Scheme.
Some scheme.
I mean, I put it as a plot hole, but I also put it as a red flag alert that nurses and doctors and other hospital personnel do not get to take blood home.
No.
No matter if they have an abundance of it. They have storage.
No.
They would probably give it to another hospital if they needed to, but they wouldn't go, oh, you want some blood? You want to take it home?
they'd probably buy a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Put it in there. Keep it in the
Not
hospital.
with a lock on. Well, they might actually put a lock on it because, security reasons.
Well, that or if they're storing a dead body.
Yes.
But they have a morgue
That's true.
down in the basement.
Did you have anything else?
I did not.
Okay, so now we can move on to the next category. When was this made again? A reminder of everything 90s. And other than like Emma's really baggy button-up shirt
Yeah.
and her hair, I didn't know what it was doing. It was like a mullet.
Yeah.
It was
And
a little bit of a
Day-Day had a
shag.
little bit of a mullet, too.
Yeah.
But the clothes wasn't anything too bad, I don't think. Like you said, her button-down shirt was a little baggy, but it was the hair.
When she was walking, she kind of reminded me of Ellen Page's character on Umbrella Academy. The way she kind of walked. A little like slunched over and
Yeah.
yeah, I got an
Touche.
Ellen Page vibe from her.
And wearing a button-down shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being kind of plain Jane, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, her hair, though, was like super cut bangs. It was just bad.
Just like feathered.
Yeah.
What about dated references or offensive jokes?
We mentioned how Emma was, this is a boring neighborhood, and she's kind of knocking Day-Day because he's just sitting there watching a movie, and he's watching Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
Which you immediately picked up on because you are a big Romero fan.
Yeah. And it was the opening scene. Not the opening scene, but it was the beginning scene when Barbara first gets attacked by the zombie and then it kills her brother. And
Yeah. He breaks
And-
a car window and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
which I thought was kind of an interesting choice to use for a kids show, but also I guess this was a horror kids show, so I guess it fits.
Yeah, it does.
Mine was when the Day-Day and Emma go over to their neighbors for the first time, and they're talking to the mover, and they're like, "Where are they from?" And he's like, "They're Ukraine," and Day-Day's like, "Is that near Disney World?"
Ugh,
He's not smart.
he is no smart.
But don't worry, Emma told him he wasn't smart. She's not shy about insulting him or his father, apparently, which, again, I feel like is a plot hole because at the beginning, she's like, "You want to sit on the couch all day like Dad?" And I was like, shit, somebody has
Jeez.
daddy issues.
Shots fired, Emma.
But then you never see her dad. He's always gone.
That's true. So he's like a workaholic.
Or he left them, and that's why she hates him so much.
Possible.
Yeah.
I also like when she's kind of spitballing about the neighbors. She's like, they could be ex-KGB agents from the old Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
She's an interesting one.
Yeah, she is.
What about technology?
I didn't have a lot. I did have one thing, though.
Sure.
And that was when Emma goes to wake up Day-Day, she gets out a bullhorn and
Yeah.
is like yelling at him on a bullhorn to wake up. And I think he took it at one point and was yelling back.
Yeah. Playful banter between siblings.
Weird toy to have.
Yeah.
A bullhorn.
I'm sure I had one.
Yeah, bullhorn?
No.
Okay.
But I feel like I wanted one when I'd see them in movies and stuff.
When I was a kid, there was a wrestling manager. His name was Jimmy Hart, and he would sit out there with a bullhorn and yell encouragement. And so I did actually want one because of Jimmy Hart, even though he managed all the bad guys.
Doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
that you'd want one. The only thing I really had in this section was that the first time Emma goes to sneak into the neighbor's basement, the music that they were playing, it just sounded like a cat had jumped onto like a sound effect machine or a synthesizer. It was like, weird? Dude.
But it was like this eerie music and then just notes of that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
Like, hit me with a guitar note.
But that's pretty much all I had for this category.
Same.
Awesome.
Are you ready to hand out some awards?
Let's do it.
As always, here on Ruining Our Childhood presents Are We Still Afraid of the Dark? We give out 2 awards, the first of which is the Kel Mitchell Award for Exceptional Overacting. Whom did you give your award to?
I had to give it to Mrs. Toll,
Okay.
Harriet Dove, mostly she's only in 2 scenes, but each time she is talking with what I call a lazy British accent, even though she's not British.
Yeah.
But she's talking like, I want to be fancy, so I'm going to talk like this.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so busy. I gotta go. And I don't know what she said to the Mr. and Mrs. Braun when she had them over. She was just like, my husband is working.
Yeah.
And
She was very sassy.
yeah,
Sassy British lady, but
not British.
not British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just that was annoying. And the fact that she's just not a good mom because she's always busy and their dad is gone. Like, these poor kids.
Explains why they're just running around breaking into houses.
Why Emma is a serial killer in training.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had for her. What about you?
Mine was Day Day. I felt like everything he did was overacting. I apologize. His name is Noah Godfrey.
Uh-huh.
When he runs over to the neighbor's house when Emma had gone in and broke in, and he's running over there to tell her that the neighbors are coming back, they kind of startle each other. And the way he reacts is like the definition of overacting. If
Yeah.
like, go ahead and act startled. So that was terrible. And then you kind of talked about when they get caught in the basement and they're hiding underneath the table. The way he's shaking while holding the flashlight was, again, everything he did was overacting to me.
Yeah. And not good overacting.
No.
I agree. He was pretty bad. I thought, honestly, I think a majority of the cast was not great.
No.
Because if you say Mr. and Mrs. Braun's like really shoddy Eastern European accents, Lex only had like one line, but I also am like, he's supposed to sound emotionalist because he is.
Yeah.
I said emotionalist.
Emotionalist.
He's supposed to sound emotionalist because he's a vampire, so that I guess makes sense. That could have been a choice
Yeah.
on his part. But yeah, do you want to move on?
Yes, I do.
The next award is the Kenan Thompson Award for just doing the best under the circumstances. Who did you give your award to?
I agreed with you that there was a lot of overacting. So I went with, we didn't even mention him in our Well Hello There because I don't think was in anything else really. His name was Johnny Keyworth and he played the mailman.
Oh, okay.
I thought he did a good job at selling the fact that he was weak and drained of energy because he was attacked, and he's talking about how this is kind of going through the neighborhood. He had his little bandage on his neck, but he just seemed like a sweet old man.
Yeah.
Too. But I felt like he did a decent job.
Your bar was set low.
It really, really was.
I ended up giving mine to Susanna Shebib as Emma because she did have the most parts, and I did believe that like she was definitely a better actor than Day Day.
Yes.
She was kind of a know-it-all and a bitchy, and I think she did it pretty well under the circumstances, which is what this category is named. But I did think she had a good scream, which I feel like should be a factor in this show because there's a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
And compared to last week, the main character could not scream at all. She was not good at screaming.
She was not.
She was like, ah! Like, she had a good horror movie scream, so I gave it to her for that. And the fact that her character had some depth because, again, I think she's training to be a serial killer.
I thought it was kind of interesting that some of these people in this cast have been in legit Hollywood things, and they were not good actors on this. Like,
no.
Mrs. Braun, not a good actress.
She's phoning it in or something.
The delivery guy was actually okay, the one
Yeah.
who ended up being an X-Men. But yeah, so I was kind of surprised that Johnny Keyworth and then also Emma, not really in a lot of things because they were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so than everyone else.
I mean, we've talked about it multiple times about like accents. I have a hard time with accents because I feel like, especially in a show like this where it's not putting a lot of effort in to train the actors to have good accents or, they're like, this is a weekly show. It's got a changing cast every week. We don't have the time.
The casting director asked, could you guys impersonate the Count from Sesame Street? And Mr. and Mrs. Braun said, sure. And he went, nailed it. You're hired.
We don't even have to listen.
Nah.
We'll do it on the day.
You said you can do it. Go ahead. You're hired.
So now we can move on to our final thoughts. Would you give this a enthusiastic Betty Ann thumbs up or a reluctant Eric thumbs up?
I think I'm going to surprise you because I kind of crapped on this the
Yeah.
whole time. But I give it a Betty Ann because I really like the story.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. I think when you're a kid, there's a point in your life when you realize things happen after you go to bed.
Yes.
Like, I think when I was a little kid, I had it in my head, the world stopped.
The world revolved around you.
Yeah, but you find out people work at night. There's people that are up all night while you're asleep. And I had a running imagination that I could create little stories, so I thought that was something. I just felt the acting was a little weak, but I liked the story.
The acting wasn't so bad for me to where I got completely distracted from the story. It just wasn't the best in the world. I also gave it a Betty Ann thumbs up because I did really like the twist ending because they kind of lead you down this road of like maybe she is right, but then you see them walking in the daylight and you're like, well, it's just one of those things where a kid learns that not to make assumptions about people, but then they twist it and they're like, guess what? There is a vampire. And then they leave it on that at like a cliffhanger. Is Emma going to figure it out?
Well, and it sounds like Lex is going over to their house tonight to drink some blood.
So it does leave it kind of on this almost like outer limits, which I do believe the show, like Twilight Zone type ending where there's not a happy ending, but there's not like a finished ending. It kind of leads you to make your own story up after the fact.
Agreed. And I think that's a good way to leave it, too.
Yeah.
Because then your imagination can take over.
And I do feel like we should judge these a little bit based on if this would freak us out as a kid. And I definitely think this story would have freaked me out. Or
yes.
I do remember it from being a kid, but I don't remember what I thought about it. But the fact that I do remember it probably means that I was freaked out by it.
Yeah.
Leaving it like open-ended like it did totally would have freaked me out as a kid. I'd be like, what? Is Emma and Day-Day going to be okay?
Are they dead now? They're probably dead.
So, yeah, guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Are We Still Afraid of the Dark? Question.
And if you're not subscribed, get over there and hit that subscribe button. And
Get over where?
Get over there. You know, there. Over there. And head over to our website, ruiningourchildhood.com, and join the Ruiners Club.
Yeah, so you can listen to that Full House episode. And I don't know what we're doing next month for the TV episode, but it's going to be another 90s classic.
Classic. But we'll see you guys. Well, you'll hear us, guys, next week.
You'll hear us, guys.
You'll hear us, guys.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Okay, bye.